no.
Well, we didn't have too much left, so we took yogurt and bananas, and we pretend these cucumbers were zucchini, so we're gonna put protein powder in and make it a shake. A banana shake.
Oh my gosh, how creative. Yeah, seriously, get out of here. All right, cool.
That's good.
We have spinach, eggs, and blueberries.
And is that coconut oil too?
Oh, and coconut oil to make it.
Okay, great.
Somebody else.
I only have sweet potatoes, but I would want a lean protein with it.
Okay, good answer. You made up for that one, Gabby.
Alright, we got egg whites, peppers, and sweet potatoes, so we're gonna make egg white pepper omelet with some hash browns, and we forgot our spray oil at home, so.
Okay, there you go, like that. And
I have chicken, lettuce, and avocado. So chicken
delicious,
salad.
beautiful, love it.
We have
Dempsey's.
ground beef
Okay.
and the veggie spirals with zucchini. Yeah.
Are those all the bags?
I think so.
That was amazing. I'm very and I also like that you guys were like, this is what we're making. This is the recipe I pulled up on Pinterest while you weren't looking. Okay, good job. So again, it's not that a meal is good or bad. It just depends on your goal. So as Coach Chris mentioned earlier, his name's not Chris, it said. If your ultimate goal is fat loss, an anytime meal would be for any time. It consists of lean, complete protein, which is chicken, vegetables, and a healthy fat, which is what I'm assuming Coach Mike cooked his meal in.
So when we mention like processed foods, if you put foods in the freezer, technically it's processed because you freeze it and then you defrost it. That's a type of processing. So is cooking. So some people will say that like raw vegetables are better because you lose less nutrients. Listen, if you're at that point, I'm super happy to have that conversation with you, and we can talk to you about how to maximize your nutrient profile. Most people don't need to do that though. Most people just need to get vegetables in like essentially in a delivery system that you enjoy. If you enjoy salads, great. I actually really enjoy salad, but I don't eat it that often because the amount of food I would have to have with the protein and everything, it just takes too long for me to eat it. So like, it's more so like, how can we make the best salad possible? How can we make sure we make cooked vegetables the right way? That's kind of a vague answer, but it really depends. If we're talking about salads, if you're having like romaine lettuce and iceberg lettuce, you're having crunchy water with other stuff on it. And it doesn't mean don't have it, like water's not bad, but you starting to mix in more nutrient dense vegetables in the salad. So if you're somebody that currently does that, no judgment, just maybe that's something we could change over time and mix in like a mixed greens or spinach. And if you like the crunchiness, just have it half and half. So it really depends. When it comes to cooked vegetables, it's really, I would say cooked vegetables are worse if you cook them with fat and you don't measure the amount. Like food prep, who here thinks they're like a master Jedi ninja of food prep? And I don't mean a good cook. I mean you've got this quantity food prep down to a science. So when it comes to food prepping, when you don't have as much experience, we generally recommend separating the ingredients and then adding them in later. So if you don't know how to calculate the amount of fat you're going to have for this meal that you're making that's going to last you 7 meals, then make it with a non-fat cooking spray, and then add your fat measured in later on. Now, is that as fun as a meal made all together? No, but you just have to wait until your knowledge catches up to get a little fancier. So post-workout meals. And this is all relative to everybody's goal, but if your goal is fat loss, I mentioned earlier that you're going to trend towards more of your starches coming in or your higher carb meal coming after a workout. So starches may be at some point saved for after a workout for you if your goal is fat loss. If your goal is more performance-based or you're struggling to get through a stubborn movement issue or you're trying to gain muscle, starches may be a heavy part of your meal plan. But in general, for most people, we want to limit them to certain times of the day. When we do our 6-week nutrition programs that we've done consistently in the past, I generally tell people this is the first rule we break. Because depending on you and how you metabolize different types of foods and your activity level and your starting body composition, we may tell you to have starches at 2 meals or 3 meals. But in general, we're going to bias your post-workout meals will have more starch than others. It's also going to contain vegetables, a lean protein. If you go strictly by what Precision Nutrition says, which is the system that drives a lot of the habits we use here, they actually tell you not to include a healthy fat in that meal. The reason they say that is they want the food to actually be digested as fast as possible. If you break down the protein fast and you break down the carbohydrates fast, you get the amino acids and the sugar you need in your blood system to actually start the recovery process. But that doesn't matter for most people. Like if you have healthy fat in the meal and you're progressing the way you want, right now all of my meals have healthy fat in them. When my progress slows down, I'm going to look at all the different factors with a coach and decide if that's the thing that should change. So for now, kind of have the fat in it if you need to have it. So there's off-plan meals. Like we try not to say cheat meals. And when we said earlier that the different types of foods, for the most part, there's really not many foods that are inherently bad. So if we're talking about an off-plan meal, it can be as simple as, these little cartoons are more extreme examples, more of the like junkier food that people tend, or more treat foods people tend to go towards. But if you are super dialed in and you don't normally have rice, you can have an off-plan meal that's rice and beans and some sort of protein and vegetable that you really enjoy that helps you not feel like you're just being super strict all the time. That's for somebody who's a little more dialed in. Somebody who's not, or just really has a strong urge for a snack food, that can be in an off-plan meal. So it's different for everybody, but the more processed carbohydrates and more processed foods, we would count that for a time that you're purposely going off-plan. But if you hear how we talk about it, we're saying purposely go off-plan. Over time, we want to take as much control back in your nutrition and in your meal plan. And I don't mean we want to control it, I mean I want you to be able to control it. So when you set out a plan for a week or a month, it's like, I've got these 4 graduation parties, and I know that based on my plan right now, I can go off 5 times or 3 times or whatever it is. Actually enjoy those meals, just control your portions and don't feel bad about it. Like this whole process, you'll hear us talk about mindset a lot. If you feel bad every time you have a food that's off plan, you're making all of this way harder on you. If you analyze and you notice you're having it too much, then you just talk to a coach about how to change it. But these aren't necessarily bad, they just have their place in moderation. So we're talking about types of food, and knowing how to build a meal is super important. If you don't know what a vegetable is, you're gonna have a harder time having vegetables at every meal eventually. The next step is starting to add in habits. So who here knows what their water goal is? Who hits that water goal 7 days a week? Cool, start there, right? So when we talk about all this, bring the knowledge that you're gaining from this, or whether it's stuff you already knew and we just helped you kind of reorganize and refresh it, bring this knowledge to the meal choices you make, but still only have 1 or 2 primary focuses. Right now, because I was sick last week and then it was a holiday weekend, all I'm focusing on is my water goal, and I feel like I'm a little behind because I feel a little dehydrated. I'm gonna catch up this morning, and then, I really like ketchup. I don't know, sorry. I'm gonna catch up this morning, and then the only thing I'm gonna measure my success by this week, and from a nutrition standpoint, is the amount of water I have. Right? I'm gonna still make good choices every time I have enough willpower, but I'm winning if I crush that. We'll start to layer in for people a certain eating frequency. For most people, 4 or more times a day, including snacks, or eating every 2 to 4 hours. Eventually, we focus on having enough protein and vegetables and healthy fat. So if you're either not in this nutrition process right now, even if you have the knowledge, or you're somebody who's new to how we talk about it, don't let all the information overwhelm you. If you don't know where to start, you just talk to us and we'll give you 1 or 2 things to focus on. And if you chip away at that over time, like everyone in this room, if you changed 5 fundamental things, maybe 6, about how you eat over the next year, how different do you think your body composition is going to be? What if it takes you 2 months to change 1 thing? Are you failing? Or are you just putting in the work you need to have that actually become a habit?
I sometimes feel too that like carbs behoove more carbs. Like once you have them, you want more.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to also when do you have them and what else do you have with it. So like typically when we're talking about off-plan meals, we're not saying, okay, you're going to go off-plan twice today, so all you're going to have is breakfast and lunch, and then you're going to have cookies and beer. Like we still recommend like have all your normal food. That sounds great, by the way. Everyone just bounces and goes. It depends on what you're having with it. So like if you're going out to eat, we tell people to pre-eat or have a shake before so they don't make a really bad choice. If you want to have like a handful of cookies, you probably shouldn't have them when you haven't eaten for 5 hours. So kind of depends. But sugar in general is actually addictive. So raise your hand if you currently do or have done the one-on-one 12-week nutrition program. Raise it higher. Cool. Yeah, everyone else be jealous. So what we have right now for any non-members that are here, what we're offering is a free nutrition consultation and also a free 30-day pass to the gym. So it allows you to come in and just get a taste of what we do and just get a full nutrition assessment to know so we can lay out a plan for you to move forward. Actually, I was going to say the value, but we don't normally do that, so I can't even say the value. In terms of anyone who's currently a member, our nutrition goes for $149 per month for the 3 months. Right now, we're going to offer it for $129. So if anyone is interested, we don't have a plan to drop that price down to what I just mentioned, which was the introductory offer when we first rolled it out. We have no intention of bringing it back down there. So you have this offer for the next 2 weeks. So as long as you decide before 2 Saturdays from now, you're welcome to get in at the cheaper rate. Anyone that's here right now, if you're currently paying more, talk to me and I'll take care of you. So just, you have those offers, so any non-members, make sure you chat with us before you leave and we'll be happy to set you up. Even if you have no intention of doing this long term, I highly, highly recommend people come in and maximize the 30 days. If you're somebody who just needs to be pointed in the right direction, getting consistent coaching and an actual assessment of where you are is a really good way to move forward. The people that work out here, and we actually have a pretty good mix of it right now. We have people that were fitness people at some point, and they just kind of were failed by traditional gyms. So they tried fitness and fell out of it. Whether they think it was their own fault or they just didn't get the support they needed at those gyms. We have people that were never fitness people here, and that are just scared of gyms in general and scared of resistance training and scared they're going to get hurt. And we also have people that were fitness people that just needed a fresh approach because they're ready to take their results to the next level. So whether it's somebody here who's not a member or somebody here who's a member who has friends or families that fall into any one of those categories, we'd be happy to extend that pass to them as well. So whether you raise your hand or not, if this information is either overwhelming to you right now, or what's actually more likely is it's so simple that you're going to be pissed when you don't do it, right? Understand that all of this, like nutrition education, we can give you free resources where you learn everything. The real important thing, whether it's people who are members here and just have conversations consistently before and after a session, or people that choose to dive deeper into one-on-one nutrition, it's more about building a lifestyle that supports the changes you need to make. I've been working consistently over the last almost 6 months trying to get my workout regimen back on track. And I'm now at the place, with the exception of being sick and being away for the weekend, where I'm finally getting my 4 days a week. The reason it's happening consistently and the reason it takes no effort now is I made the fundamental change I need to make in my lifestyle so I could fit it. For me, my issue was always schedule. I said yes to everyone else and no to myself. So that may kind of resonate with some people here. So whether it's an exercise goal that you struggle to hit, or this stuff is so simple that you go home and you're pissed off that you can't do it, it's just because your current lifestyle doesn't support the new habits you're trying to put in. Don't beat yourself up. Just ask for help. If it's from us, we're happy to help you. If you have somebody else in your life you trust, a workout partner, or just somebody who knows a lot about this stuff and they're going to help you, we don't care who helps you as long as you win. So just please, 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 I can't say it enough, don't beat yourself up. It's going to waste the valuable energy you need to make these changes.